Bullshit.
It's the No BS Marketing Show. I'm Dave Mastovich, CEO and founder of Massolutions, the world's only no bullshit marketing firm. Today we have a return appearance of Chris Miladinovich of ProspHire. Now, he was a guest in 2016 on the show, and it was a ton of fun. And I know that's cliche and all, but Chris is just a really quick-witted person who knows how to have a good time while still being professional, and that's why the show was great in 2016. So we're going to have that in the show notes, so you can go back and click on that as well. But Chris Miladinovich of ProspHire, welcome back to the No BS Marketing Show.
Thank you for having me. I agree. We had a great time last time, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
It's already been interesting in the pre-show antics that we've had, which the audience doesn't get to know about. We'll have the special backstage stuff that people can pay for. We'll have for $2.99. You can get that stuff. But since your last appearance, now your company was probably about a year old when you were on then. Tell me a little bit about what's happened with ProspHire and you personally.
Yeah, thank you. Back when we last spoke, we were a year old. Mm-hmm. We had just a handful of people, and things were a lot smaller, a lot different. Over the years, we've had tremendous growth. We're in the 50s in headcount, have lots of good partners, lots of good relationships. We're a national consulting firm. We have clients all over the United States. Things are very different. Way back then, you wish for all of the bigger firm, the more people, and the bigger market position. And today we kind of wish for the smaller problems and less of the bigger issues. But no regrets. We've had a wonderful time. It's been a wonderful journey. Learned a lot. I learned something every day. I always tell people I have every different emotion every day. And that's very true being an entrepreneur and business leader.
I hear that. Let's let everybody know how you describe what ProspHire does.
Yeah, we're a management consulting firm, so we help healthcare industry companies such as insurance providers, and healthcare providers, hospitals, pharmaceuticals, supply chain. We help them with their business challenges. I like to say we're the plumbers and electricians of the healthcare organizations. Okay. We know right where to go, right in the wall or right in the pipe. We know right where to go to fix some problems. And, most of our clients consider us an extension of their team, extension of their leadership teams, and we help our clients get their problems solved quicker and their ideas and solutions to market faster.
So consulting means a lot of things. We do some marketing consulting in addition to creative development and storytelling and so forth. So with the term management consulting, it can range from actual strategic planning. It can range from organizational development. It can range from project management. What's your piece of management consulting, your top 2 or 3 things that are your secret sauce, your competitive advantage? What are the ones you do the most?
Yeah, I'd say we break consulting down into 2 buckets, strategic advisory and then, strategic execution. So on the advisory front, that's where we partner with the leadership and executives of a company and help them develop the plan or response to a particular business challenge. Where we take pride in is we don't let those binders or playbooks that we put together sit on the shelf. We help execute and operationalize whatever we put forward. It's very important to have the people that are helping advise on the problem, help solve the problem. And I think our unique market position allows us to do both successfully with all of our clients.
So you talked about growing, and you said you have about 50 in the headcount. Talk to me a little bit about that. What are the typical positions of people that are getting the job done for ProspHire's clients through ProspHire?
Dave, every one of our people is very important and has a very important job. We've built an incredible team, and it's hard to say, what a typical position is that helps solve the problem, because at the end of the day, each department that we have or each particular person has their part in the overall secret sauce. Our client-facing professionals Every one of them has a path to ownership, a path to equity in the company, and in the firm, and that's an important thing. It's a motivator. We really promote an entrepreneurial atmosphere and provide a sense of ownership, and I think that really motivates people to do a great job for the firm and for their clients.
Uh-huh. So you have some management consultants, since you do management consulting. Tell me a little bit about what makes them unique and what they bring to the table that is a differentiator from any other management consulting firm.
Well, thanks for that question. I think it's important to note that our number one priority in our firm is culture. So when we're bringing somebody in, it's very important that they're going to fit into our firm. So what the differentiator is, and I know that, people, price, every firm's going to say that. Our differentiator is, I think that our culture benefits not only our firm, but our clients, because we're keeping people at our organization. We're growing our intellectual capital. People aren't leaving. So our clients get to experience much more stability. They get the benefit of the intellectual capital we're building, and they get to benefit from a continuous relationship, which is incredibly important. And the only way to do that, or one of the most important ways to do that, is to foster an inclusive, diverse culture of everybody that really gets along. We recently implemented a personality assessment tool. There's many great ones out there. But we effectively use the tool to understand how we work with each other, and our whole management team uses it to manage each other and our people, and even manage upwards. How do you like to be communicated to? How does that person like recognition? How does that person take feedback? All those questions are really important, and as leaders, we need to make sure we're using that information wisely so that we all work together better and have a great culture.
Which tool did you select? It seems like it's working for you.
It's working really well. It's called People Keys, and it's a component of DISC, uses the DISC methodology, and has a few other tests within it. But before joining the firm, everybody takes it. Everybody gets their results, and it's a wonderful tool to not only reflect and understand what kind of person you are and how you like to learn, how you like to get feedback, how you like to receive recognition, what motivates you. It's a good to reflect, but it's also good to use to work with each other. Wouldn't it be so powerful to go into a conversation knowing how somebody likes to receive feedback? They might not want to receive it in a way that you're traditionally used to giving.
Correct.
And that makes the conversation ultimately more powerful.
It's important to leverage those tools. Now, one of the other things that I know from going to your office and having a couple meetings there, from the minute you get off the elevator, you see some really cool stuff. And one is the culture aspect that you've talked about. You have these cultural pillars, if you will, and you can see the words throughout the building, and there's different ways that the employees reference them. Talk about how you've instituted that culture and how you're communicating that culture.
So, as I said, and thanks for recognizing that, and I'm very proud of what our team's done to build such an incredible workplace. I know that culture is our number one priority, and it's really important to kind of put your money where your mouth is, and make sure that the things we're saying come to life and come to fruition. I think an incredible office is an important mechanism of culture. People like the office. They want to go to the office. We implement a lot of amenities that are wonderful. And as for the words on the wall, they're not just words on a wall. Lauren and I, when we founded the firm, we wrote these words at our kitchen counter. And while the words have changed a little bit to be more effective, the intent and the meaning hasn't changed. And it's so important that we actually recognize people every year for our Core Values Award. We have 5 core values, and one person gets an award for each category, and their name goes on the wall forever for that particular year. So with all the amenities, with the wonderful office, the investment in the office, we have lots of wonderful things, different spaces, different areas people can go to for collaboration or privacy. All of those things are wonderful inputs to a great culture.
I noticed the one thing, and I don't want to pry if it's like proprietary information, but I noticed you walked me through how you're able to make sure people aren't working too much so they don't get to burnout, which I was impressed with that, because I know when you have a small company like mine, and yours is obviously grown and your headcount's large, that you got to watch, because people become passionate and sometimes people aren't as efficient as they could be, and then they end up spending a little bit too much time at work and they aren't getting time to energize. And I was impressed that you had a way that you could look very quickly and get a snapshot and start talking to people and saying what's up, that you're a little bit over on the amount of ideal hours that you'd like to see someone working.
Yeah, thanks for recognizing that. We have made a massive investment in KPIs and metrics to run our business. In fact, we lovingly call it our ProspHire Command Center. Mm-hmm. If you can picture, it's 6 TVs up on a wall, and I want more TVs. I'm working on that expense request. But it's 6 TVs on a wall that contain all of our most important metrics. Dave, we're a 354 and climbing headcount firm, surpassed 10 million in revenues, so we can't keep track of every little thing. Mm-hmm. It's very difficult to do that. We have a great team and a great culture of mentorship and apprenticeship. And behind that, we have our command center, which includes various metrics. And yeah, to your point, one of them is utilization. And if we see one of our people making the board for overutilization, maybe working too many hours, we want to get ahead of that, because I guarantee to all the listeners, you yourself, of someone, or someone in your company has quit from burnout, and everyone here knows that if only we could have got ahead of that, that person could have been saved. So, you make these massive investments in finding this information and creating it and actually using it to get ahead of it. Even if it saves one person, it was all worth it.
Mm-hmm. You're celebrating the 5th anniversary here. You've been around 5 years, which is a big milestone for any company to survive. But not only have you survived, you've thrived, you've grown at a huge pace. What's your biggest learning experience from the past 5 years?
Oh my, I've learned a lot, and I can't pin it down on one exact learning experience, but I'll tell you that just reflecting on the past 5 years, I can tell you that an early and constant investment into culture and a scalable infrastructure pays off in the long run. I remember being in our first year and second year, and actually through the whole 5 years, but especially the first and second years, I had with Lauren invested in some very untraditional mechanisms, 401k, had an HR audit, just to name a few. We did a lot of other things. We actually moved into our office much earlier than we needed it, but we grew into it. And the point of the matter is doing some of these things early ensured a few things. One, our scalability, so that we can grow and grow quickly. And then 2, they were foundation for just a beautiful culture that we have. It's very hard to turn culture quickly. I mean, it can be done, but it takes time. And we never really had to pivot our culture at all in the 5 years. And I think that's our firm's greatest strength and asset.
Impressive. Where do you see the company going in the next 3-5 years?
I like to think about things in more of a short term because, this business is flexible and things and priorities change. I see us growing in the national position that we have, being healthcare firms' first calls. Whenever a healthcare company, insurance company, or a managed care organization has a particular issue, they're going to think to call ProspHire first, and figure out a way if we can help them. And then if we can't help them, we'll find somebody that can. That's the whole premise of building strong, trusted relationships. But our plans to grow are strong this year. We're going to, our plan is to increase headcount by a fifth, maybe 20, 25 people, and continue to grow into different geographies and markets as well, very strategically.
So tell me a little bit about when you've talked through the culture, you've talked through the growth. Talk about how you motivate that team.
Yeah, I think one of the key ingredients to motivating our team is the tremendous investment into culture and building an award-winning culture, but creating a sense of ownership for the firm. I think everyone in the firm truly feels like they are owning the success we're having, and there's no better feeling than knowing you own success, knowing that you had a contribution to a wonderful accomplishment, and that's so motivating. And I think that not only is it the truth, but we purposefully get people empowered and motivated to know that they own the success of our firm.
What made you get that type of approach? Where in your early part of your career did it hit you that, like, this is how I want to run a company?
Well, from day one, our model has been that of apprenticeship and very heavy on mentorship.
So where did it come to you though? Like, because obviously you said day one, but I'm saying you didn't think of that day one. You thought of that years past. When did it hit you? Was it when you were a teenager? Was it when you were in college? Was it the first job you noticed something you liked? Was it a second job you noticed something you didn't like? Because that's pretty much what happens when we build companies. We learn throughout our lives things that we either thought worked or didn't work. What was the triggering points that got you to that point earlier in your career?
I think that has been an innate ability or an innate thought process for me. Just, in my experience, I have, held leadership positions from high school all the way through today. And I'll tell you that the lessons that I've learned along the way in working with others, the most important lessons that I remember are what not to do. I remember the things that I didn't like from managers or didn't appreciate, or cultures from different companies, or any kind of toxicity that I didn't particularly enjoy. And I think when you remember those things don't work, you implement them where they can work.
Exactly.
And when you can control. And I think that's been my why on how I've contributed to our culture. Our firm is bigger than any one person now, and it's now really a collective of everybody's input. So it's very important to bring the right people in that will subscribe to the culture and only improve the culture. We lovingly say we get rid of cancer quick. If there's anybody or anything that's compromising the safety or health of our culture, we get rid of it very quickly, because all cancer spreads quickly, and we don't want to hurt our organization.
So the 5 words are of the culture?
Relationships, candor, versatility, commitment, and results.
Well, Chris, I do want you to touch on something that you said earlier that I've witnessed you do, and I talk about on my show that I haven't done enough of, but a lot of our clients and a lot of entrepreneurs haven't done enough of. Talk about how, because it takes courage, you started by immediately building infrastructure. And you talked about, you said, we got space and then grew into it. And we hired this position, even though we weren't ready for that, but then it worked out. And we did this system and process that we invested in the TVs, and the TVs are not the investment. The investment is all the intellectual property to get the TVs for your KPIs. Talk about that, because I know personally, and I also know from many friends of mine, it's really tough for an entrepreneur to do that kind of investment and to do it, and it works. I've just flat out watched it work. So I want to help our audience, who other people that are entrepreneurs that are maybe struggling to pull the trigger and not realizing that. Talk about how you did that, and because it took courage.
Yeah, I think in that particular facet of growing any business, there's a couple plateaus that a business leader will run into. One is, and it's very in particular, is when you start having some success, maybe in year 1 or 2. And usually the business owner will take the retained earnings out of the business and go buy cars or planes or whatever. And the business is left with limited capital. I think one of the things we did in our experience was we heavily reinvested the retained earnings and did really a few big things. One was trying to replace myself so that I could get out of working in the weeds and doing more business growth and sales and working on the business rather than working in the business. That was a big investment because finding senior talent is expensive. I think another big investment we made that has tremendously paid off was our investment in marketing. Marketing is very important. Marketing is different than sales. Marketing drives sales. And we doubled down and focused on business to employee marketing. Heather McCaig joined our firm 2 years in, and it's been she's done a tremendous job building that organization, and then and its capabilities. And then the third big early investment we made was getting into our office space. What's really cool is when we were looking for brick and mortar space, we were in a shared space. We saw a place that was unattainable. It was too expensive. And then we started having some growth, and all of a sudden that floor became attainable. And Lauren and I had to have some discussions to get over the fence, but we didn't need the floor yet, and we went ahead and got it, and we grew into it. And here, 4 years later, we have 3 floors in the building and looking at possibly more. So I think you have to kind of look at what information you have, look at the direction your business is going, and you have to think big and paint a vision, and don't stop until you get there. Coddling your resources or spending the retained earnings and not investing in the business is the worst mistake you can make. The fact of the matter is when you invest in yourself and in your business, it should generate more returns than any other investment vehicle you can think of can.
Awesome. Is there anything you thought I'd asked you that I didn't?
No, I thought that was a great discussion, and thank you for bringing up some of these questions. And I love working with you and your team. You guys help us on a few things and do a very fantastic job to help us think through things and execute. And I watch you do a wonderful job with your clients, and that's really important. Good work leads to more.
I agree. Thank you very much. And thanks for the second appearance of Chris Miladinovich of ProspHire, a company on the move and growing. Check them out. And thank you, our loyal No BSers, for listening to this episode, recorded in our studios in bold, beautiful downtown Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Remember, ask yourself, what's the big idea? And build your story around the answer. It's all about bold solutions, no BS.